On this week's show, do house prices really double every 10 years?
And in the news, my boyfriend pays our rent and bills, but he has no idea that I'm the landlord.
Welcome to the Property Investors Podcast. Thanks so much for tuning in. Make sure you subscribe so you never miss an upload. You can catch us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube. Enjoy this week's show and don't forget to share it with all your friends.
Hold on a sec.
Not my boyfriend.
Well, you just said in the news.
I know, but it's the article, so I have to say it.
So, hold on. Your boyfriend does what? You're the landlord of where?
In the news,
In the news, right?
the title is "My boyfriend pays our rent
Your
and
boyfriend
bills,
pays your what?
and he has no idea that I'm the landlord."
Oh.
Hey, I'm Alistair Cunningham.
I'm Russell Leeds, and this is the Property Investors Podcast, and we've literally had some groundbreaking news about Alistair right now. Sorry, so you're just reading
I'm just
it.
reading
it's not
it.
really
Yes,
your boyfriend.
It's not really, you know.
Just
Not
in case
that I'm
anyone's-
against any of that, but it's not really. So
Against any of what?
that
Against what?
you insist insinuating that I'm a homosexual.
How was I insinuating that?
Let's just move on.
All right, let's move on.
We're going to annoy somebody because they're going, no, but this is property and you're waffling.
All right, that's true.
Maybe that time we talked about teeth for the first 5 minutes.
All right, well, let's talk about teeth later, and we'll get straight into the topic then. So this week we're talking about, do house prices really double every 10 years? Now, it almost seems hard to believe, if you're looking at it it almost does seem hard to believe that house prices would double every 10 years.
Yeah, I mean, it's not to the pound and it's not every 10 years, but historically, house prices do tend to double every 10, 12, 13 years.
Well, we thought we'd do a little bit of research and go and look at the average house price in the UK from every decade, from 1950 to 2020, and we'll see how accurate it is. So get your calculator out.
Go on.
And we'll compare. So I've got the prices here.
Yeah.
Let's see if they really do double every 10 years.
All right.
Right. Do you know? Okay. Actually, out of interest, do you have any idea what the average house price was? See how good you can guess. Average house price in 1950.
Interestingly, though, I remember teaching this at a crash course once because everyone was questioning me about this.
Right.
And I got this. I don't know if it's the same one, but I got from the ON, the Office of National Statistics. I got that up and I showed them. So I believe in 1950s, the average 3-bedroom house was.
I don't have that data. I just have the average house price.
It's based on a 3-bed terrace.
Right.
I believe was £2,800.
You're very close.
Okay, what was it?
It was £1,891.
Okay,
right.
Fine.
So back in 1950, I remember my granddad telling me stories about this. Oh, I bought my first house for £1,000. It's like, what? £1,000? It's like,
I know.
I mean, why did he not buy loads back then?
It's all relative, isn't it? Because the average salary was probably only £3 or £4 grand a year. No, probably less than that.
That'd be very interesting to know. I reckon.
What's the average salary? Let me see what the average salary.
Average salary in 1950. I've got a feeling, that the average salary, while it probably was less than £1,000.
Hold on. The average salary
in 1950, I reckon they were in a better position.
Okay, so the average salary in 1950 was £3,300 a year.
Right, so the average salary today is what, like 26, 28?
So hold on then.
So that'd be the equivalent of houses being 14 grand.
So if a house was, say, £2,000, the average salary was £3,000, that means a year's salary would buy the house.
Yeah. Well, more than.
Yeah, more than. So you could buy a house with roughly 8 months' salary. But now, the average salary is 28 grand, but the average house price is
280 or something?
It's 280, yeah. So it's 10 times. That's interesting, isn't it? And I always knew it was. Okay, obviously we are entitled, right, as the olders would say, but back then times were very different than they are now. Like lending was a lot stricter and.
Well, of course it was. You could buy a house in 8 months.
Yeah, but anyway, so 1950, £2,000. What was in 1960?
So 1,891, right? So now you've got to times it by 2.
All right, so 3,600.
All right, so it didn't double that year. It was 2,530.
Okay, so it went up by 800, yeah.
Right. So then in 1970, so 10 years on.
Yeah.
So you got to times yours by 2 again. Jump back on your calculator.
3,600, 7,400.
So we should be 7,400 at this
Yeah.
stage. We're at 4,057.
So it didn't double again.
So it didn't double again. But it's about to. I think it's about to double. So 1980.
Yeah.
It was 20,268.
So that's not doubled, that's 3x'd.
Well, what are you on now if you double it?
Oh, 7 times 5,
Why are you not on your,
14,000.
get on your
I
calculator?
don't need my calculator to add 7.5 times 7.5.
I want you to do it properly though.
Times 2.
No, I don't want 7.5. There's no way it's 7.5. Do it properly. 1891
1891
times 2
times 2
equals
3782
right times 2
times 2 7.5
right times 2.
15.
So it's 15. So if it had doubled every year, it would be 15,128. We're at 20,268.
Okay.
Right. 1990. So you got times 2 again.
Yeah.
It was 58,153.
So what that's according to the calculator, 30,000.
Right. Double it again.
Yeah.
In 2000, the average house, that isn't even that long ago, is it? In 2000, the average house price was 89,587.
That's ridiculous, isn't it?
Yeah.
89 grand when I was 21. Jeez.
Right, times 2.
Yeah.
In 2010, it was 170,365.
It's starting to
Starting to get
up.
close.
Yeah.
And in 2020,
Yeah.
it was 250,772. So, as you can see, it kind of varies,
Yeah,
but
it does.
it roughly,
It roughly is, isn't it? Roughly thereabouts.
yeah.
Interesting. It is quite interesting because obviously you hear stories all the time. You know, people back in the 60s and 70s, they bought these big houses, accidental millionaires, particularly in big cities. Like, for instance, in London, I was walking down Belgravia the other day. Belgravia is a very nice part of London. Houses there's nothing less than $1 million. It's all £1 million, £2 million, £3 million plus houses. But back in the 60s and 70s, these big, like, they're all terraced houses, but they're like 4 or 5 stories. I wonder how much they were. Like, I've not done the research.
Well, I
but,
saw.
like,
Do you know Harry Redknapp?
Yeah.
He just sold his Sandbanks mansion for 10 million.
Yeah. How much did you pay for it?
And he bought it in 2001
Yeah.
for like 1 million.
Wow.
But the person before that bought it in 1998 for 400,000.
Yeah, so it's doubled and then 10x.
10x in.
Yeah. But like when I was walking down through Kensington, I went for on a Saturday, me and my partner went for a walk in London, and we literally left my place in Fulham and we walked all the way to the West End, which is like 7 kilometres. But we walked through
You walked
Chelsea.
7 kilometres?
Yeah.
How did that take?
2.5 hours. I know. We only went out to find somewhere to have lunch, and we ended up in the West End. Yeah.
Did you not think of like, Uber or?
No, I just walked. We just got chatting and just walked, didn't it? So
Although
anyway.
you were a bit, you were out of breath. You were out of breath today. He was actually running my house like,
I had to run for a train.
I had to run for the train. He had to, it was like, where did you go? Edgware Road.
Edgware Road to Marylebone, and I had 7 minutes to get from Marylebone to Edgware Road to Marylebone.
And it's
it is a good 7-8 minute walk. A good 7 to 8 minute walk.
I've done that run
so
before.
these houses at Belgravia, West Kensington, Chelsea, like they're massive houses. But at some point, somebody probably paid 40 grand for them. Do you know what I mean? And we were talking about like,
Well, probably less.
exactly, but like they would if you got not like you imagine the people that bought them and have kept them all this time, they're now worth millions and millions and millions of pounds.
11-minute walk.
Is it really? Well, 11-minute walk.
You killed it, man.
I know, man. So I nearly
No wonder you were so out of breath.
I nearly killed myself. I got on the train, right, and I was like, I just sat down. I took my jumper off because I was sweating. I threw my bag down, and I'm panting.
The thing is, the trains come every 20 minutes.
No, yeah, but I'm not waiting because then if I wait, it's like I know there was a train at 40, right? But I thought I'm not waiting because I'm going to sit there bored out my brains. It means I'm going to be 20 minutes late for this, and I'm going to be 20 minutes late getting back, and I've got dinner. I'm meeting somebody for dinner at 7:30, and then just delays the whole day, and it's so I had to run. And
I'll let you off.
It was like, geez. I wish I hadn't because my heart was pounding because, like, you know, I don't know. I don't know. Anyway, my point being, like, house prices, they don't necessarily double every 10 years, but they certainly go up in value.
Well, you said they don't necessarily double, but looking at it, they pretty much, I mean, some years they're more, some a bit less, but pretty much over the last 70 years, every 10 years, they have doubled.
All I know, right, is...
This is all you know.
This
is the only thing out there
it's the safest bet.
What,
to
houses?
Me, houses, yeah. Because history shows you they've always gone up in value. There might be periodic dips, but they've always gone up in value. So over a 10-year period, they're always worth more now than they were 10 years ago. So that's all I need to know for history. And it's bricks and mortar, and it pays you twice. So you get capital appreciation, plus you get cash flow if you rent it out. Whereas other asset classes, such as stocks and shares, and Bitcoin and all that sort of stuff, they don't pay you twice unless you sell. You only get paid when you sell the asset. Now, I know some of you Bitcoin lovers and you experts out there will actually deny, and you'll basically say, I know nothing about what I'm talking about. I am the first to admit I know absolutely cock all about Bitcoin, okay? Some of you will say, yeah, you can get paid twice from it, but most people can't, and most people won't. What happens is they get paid only if they sell their crypto or if they sell their stocks and shares. There's very few platforms that pay you interest, such as property. Property pays you on capital appreciation, so you get the uplift in value, and you get the monthly income as a cash flow. For instance, like I've got a house. I've got £150,000 equity in the property. I'm not going to bring that out. I'm leaving it in there for whatever. But it also pays me £3,500 per month in rent. Of that, I make around £2,000 a month profit. So I'm getting paid capital appreciation in the equity and the uplift. Plus, I'm getting paid rent. Happy days, getting paid twice. I don't know any crypto, I don't know anything else. And I'm happy for you to tell me otherwise. Please tell me otherwise. I'm happy for it.
Interestingly, I was just looking at gold, because gold's another one that people say is a safe bet. Now, property, as we've just looked at, every 10 years it went up, didn't it? And it went up, well, doubling, right?
It's a very gradual rise.
Gold was worth more in the 1940s than it was in 2000.
Yeah.
That would never happen. Now, it is worth more now than it's ever been.
Obviously...
Oh, no, it's not than ever. It actually was also worth more. I haven't got the date here, but somewhere between, it looks around... Well, if that's 1950, that's 2000. So that was about 1975, 1980.
I don't know what happened in that era, but...
It was worth more then than it is now.
Obviously, gold is obviously... They call it, don't they call it God's currency or something like that?
Yeah, it's God's money.
God's money, okay, God's currency, whatever, okay? So that sits there, and that's intrinsic value. You can see it, you can touch it, you can hold it, okay? Now, if you take currency, as in pound notes, dollar bills, it used to be that the dollar bill, for every dollar bill on the planet, had to be backed by the same equivalent value of gold. But there become a point where there was more, because of quantitative easing and money printing, there was more cash than there was ever gold. So therefore it lost that correlation between the gold price and the dollar value. That's why people started investing heavily in gold, because when anything becomes scarce, it becomes more valuable. And obviously if the more of it becomes less valuable. Hence the dollar bill has gone up because they keep printing billions and billions and trillions and billions of pounds. The value of the pound goes down, but the value of the asset goes up. That's what we're seeing there.
But my point is, and you are right, I can't remember which president did that. I was reading about it the other day. I think it's before we were born, in all fairness. But my point is that if you bought gold back in 1950, it would have been the exact same price in 1980. If you bought it in 1945, or it might be similar to what it is today. Or whereas with property,
it would have been...
You're almost guaranteed to go up. If you'd bought Bitcoin 70 years ago, oh, hold on.
It wasn't around.
Bitcoin didn't exist 70 years ago.
Because an algorithm in a computer.
Did Bitcoin exist 10 years ago? Is it about the time?
I think it's around 13 years old,
13 years? It's about came in about...
Yeah, I think it was early 2000, like 2004, 2005.
Right, we don't really know much about Bitcoin, but what I do know is it's got up and down, and there's no history behind it.
No,
with property, you're right. I mean, number one, we know it's going to go up over time, because that's what history has shown, and what does history do?
Generally repeats itself,
Repeats itself.
Listen, we're not saying that you can't make money from Bitcoin. I know people that are making a lot of money from Bitcoin, and I'm sure you guys will soon tell us you're making a lot of money from Bitcoin. But we're not talking about where to make money today or tomorrow. We're talking about in history over time. Now, we don't know what's going to happen with Bitcoin. It might become the new thing. Who knows? We just don't know. All I know is all we can do is look at what history tells us. History tells us that property goes up in value over time, and it has done statistically over time since records began.
The other thing is, if you look at obviously stocks and shares are another big thing to invest in. If you look at the FTSE 100 or whatever companies 50 years ago, they're not there now.
Yeah.
All the companies are different.
Yeah.
So that would also suggest that you throw your money in them, unless you're smart.
Yeah,
And you see when something's going to crash or whatever.
Yeah.
You got a good chance of losing your money on that as well.
Either way, everything's risky. You've just got to analyse what risk you're prepared to take.
But is property? Would you? I would argue that property isn't risky. I think property.
Yeah,
I think you've got more risk of the pound crashing.
I agree. It's probably the least risky strategy.
Listen, there's always a risk.
Ask a landlord that's had 10 houses trashed by tenants and cost them hundreds of thousands of pounds. Ask a landlord that I'm dealing with a landlord at the minute who and it's his fault. A tenant set fire to his building and the insurance won't pay out, so he's millions of pounds out of pocket. So
Millions,
yeah, millions. This property's worth £6.5 million. He's now having to sell it for £3.5 million because it's got no.
Did he pay for it?
I don't know. A good point though. He bought it in the 60s.
So it's not really millions of pounds out of
No,
profit.
but
He's millions of pounds worth stuff that he could have been.
That he could have been, yeah.
He probably bought it for about 50 quid. Looking at them.
Probably, yeah. Probably got it for the change in his pocket. But my point being is, I believe property is the least risk.
Yeah.
The least risk, but it doesn't come with no risk.
No, of course not.
I know people that are hundreds of thousands of pounds in arrears because of property.
Yeah.
But it's because they've maybe done it wrong or they've gone creative, whatever. But I believe property is by far the least risk. But everything comes with risk.
And the other beautiful thing is, like you mentioned earlier, is with gold, with whatever, you get paid when the asset goes up in value, capital appreciation, which property does. And not only does it do, but it's proven to have
do
done.
you get paid when gold goes up in value?
Well, no, actually.
Only if you sell it.
Well, yeah. But what I mean is, you're earning. You get equity, I suppose, don't you?
Yeah. So you got built-in equities, but only. Well, you still own it. There's no equity. It's there, but it's not tangible. It's not realisable.
That's the same as capital appreciation with a house.
Yeah, of course it is.
Okay, so you're not getting paid. You are right. You're not getting paid when it goes up in value, but you are becoming richer.
You become wealthy. Yeah. We're wealthy. Yeah, I get that. Yeah.
But with property, you get that, and not only do you get that, but you get it. In my opinion, looking at the stats, looking at stocks and shares, looking at gold, looking at Bitcoin over years, you get that. That's the best version of that.
Yeah, 100%.
But you also get rent.
Yeah.
But not only that, so not only do you get paid rent, you get the capital appreciation, you also get to leverage the mortgage company's money. You can't go and say, oh, I want to buy £100,000 worth of Bitcoin. I want to put down 20 grand, and you can put down 80 for me, please.
No, you can't.
So you get to leverage.
It's
100%. Just the best by a mile, in my opinion.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I 100% agree with you. I was watching a program the other day. It was all about the Twin Towers 9/11. Okay, and it was behind the scenes because obviously the 9/11 anniversary was last week, and it was loads of videos. There's loads of stuff on documentaries about it. And I was watching about the gold crisis during 9/11. Now, so obviously in the basement of there was a big vault in the bottom of 9/11, and at the bottom of 9/11, in the bottom of Twin Towers. Now, all the conspiracy theorists, right? They all believe this was done by the government, and that it was all. They all claim that the vaults were emptied like a week before the Twin Towers
Because they got insurance on the building, didn't they?
Apparently, so I don't know, right? I'm not into the conspiracy. I think it's all bollocks, right? But all the conspiracy theorists say that all the vaults were emptied. There was no gold left. Okay. So and apparently the reason being is they're saying what happened was the government took all the Federal Reserve took all the gold out and then claimed it, saying it was destroyed in the fires, and they got the insurance for it, which is a load of rubbish. Okay, in this documentary I was watching, they actually showed you the rescue mission. So they had the rescue mission of obviously trying to get all the people that passed away and make the place safe. But one of the other rescue missions was to empty the vaults because the vaults were now insecure. So they got all this billions and trillions of pounds worth of gold bullion and gold bars in open space essentially. So anybody could go there and take it. So they were having to take that. One of the big things after, obviously, they were dealing with the sensitive stuff, but they were also emptying the vaults and moving it. And it took something like 600 armoured lorries to move the gold and put it into safety. It's just interesting because obviously the buildings collapsed, but the gold survived. It was all intact. There was all nothing wrong with it, and it's just interesting. I'll find this sort of stuff really interesting. So it just shows you gold can withstand the test of time.
Yeah.
Massively. It's been around, and gold's historically been around for, well, as I say, it's gold's currency. So
when we're talking about property as well, I suppose we're more talking about land, really, aren't we?
Yeah, property and land.
It's because obviously, of course, it's the house, the building, but that will change over time. But if you own the land,
yeah,
property, in 300 years, this house probably won't be here.
Probably not, you're right, but the land will still be
The
here.
land will.
And what will be on here? Who
Who
knows?
knows? Dun, dun, dun.
I know, that was a really good point to end. So anyway, what do you guys think? Let us know, comment below.
Right, in the news this week.
We've got a really interesting news article. I'll let you read it.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, right, so let me... well, I thought you were reading it, I was looking at something else, but I found it now. Right, oh, of course, it's your boyfriend, isn't it? So Alistair's boyfriend pays the rent and bills, and he has no idea he's the landlord. So this is just an interesting story about property that we thought would be interesting to get your views. So basically, a woman has claimed that her boyfriend pays the rent to their shared apartment. But what he doesn't know is she actually is the landlord and owns the apartment, and he's sending the cash directly to her.
That's quite funny, isn't it?
It is quite funny. It says, relationships are built on trust and honesty, but one woman has decided to keep some pretty big news from her boyfriend. She hasn't told him that she owns the property, he's paying for the rent. TikTok user...
Well, he'll know now.
Jane Doe. Well, maybe she's just set it up. Jane Doe, that's like the... claims she's been living with her boyfriend for about a year, and while he's agreed to foot the rent and the major bills, he has no idea the money's actually going to her. What do you make of that?
I think it's funny, she bought the property after they lived there, so she bought it behind his, I just read it, she bought it behind his back. Well, not behind his back, but without him knowing. So she bought it off the landlord, and then she took ownership of it. She never told him she took it over, and then he's paying the vast majority of all the bills and all the mortgage, or the rent, he's paying to the account, which is her account. I just think it's funny. I just think it is, okay, is it dishonest? Is it a little bit deceiving? He's going to be a little bit peeved, isn't he?
Mate, I would be fuming. I mean, to be honest, I'd be fuming if she was paying for it and she bought it without telling me.
Yeah,
I'd be like, what the hell?
Yeah.
Why would you do that and not even tell me?
It is quite funny, but yeah, it is a little bit deceiving. Depends what... If they're just girlfriend and boyfriend, they live together, so obviously it's fairly serious, but...
I imagine, though, a lot of people find it funny.
Yeah.
Do you think they'd find it funny if it was the other way around?
Oh, no, it'd be sexual discrimination of some description, wouldn't it?
If the guy...
It would be like
and
male
was charged
chauvinistic pigs, wouldn't it? That's what it would be. I guarantee all the feminists would be coming out saying, I guarantee it. Yeah, I mean, PC, wow, so what? But I guarantee it. If it was all the way around, there'd be some sort of bullshit coming out. 100%. Yeah.
I tend to agree.
What do you guys think? Do you think it's funny? Do you think it's dishonest? Do you think it's deceiving?
Do you think it's both?
Would you do it?
Dishonest and deceiving?
Or are you doing it? Do you own your house and is your partner paying you the rent? I mean, that would be funny. Let us know, because you can come on the show and you can share. But yeah, man, I think that's quite funny. So.
All right, so let's have a quick look at the questions that you guys have been putting in this week.
I have a question here. It comes through Facebook Messenger. This is from Raphael. Raphael is actually an Academy member of ours, and he's a really great guy. He's doing some really good stuff. He's got a predicament at the minute, and he is looking for some service accommodation apartments, and he's looking on the south coast. So he's saying Portsmouth or Southampton. What do we think?
Ooh, Portsmouth or Southampton?
For service accommodation. I think both.
Do you reckon both?
Yeah, I think Portsmouth's probably got the edge, but we talked about this all week, service accommodation in Portsmouth. Got the edge, probably, but I do think both areas, areas are pretty buzzing. I think they're pretty busy. They're definitely, I don't know if they're both cities, but they're definitely up there. I know people that have got properties in both areas, and both of them are doing well.
Right, the hotels in Southampton are cheap, man.
Yeah. Wow. Okay.
Premier Inn, 39 quid.
I mean, obviously, Raf, you've got to do your homework, my friend. Do your DD. You've come to, I think you've been, I'm not sure yet, you might be due to come, but get yourself booked on or make sure you attend the rent-to-rent programs, service accommodation intensive, and come along. Make sure you learn how to do DD. Get it done, man. Get it done. And you make the decision and you let us know what you're going to do. Okay, so I hope that helps.
I don't have service accommodation units in either, so I'm not, my finger is not on the pulse of that market, I'm afraid.
Okay, so next, this is from Michelle Perkin. Michelle Perkin asks, looking to do safe, hold on, Okay, Michelle Perkin asks, she's looking to invest, but she doesn't want to do any risky strategies. She's thinking of just getting a 3 or 4 bedroom single let. Where would we recommend the areas to start looking for that?
Well, it depends how much money she's got for a start.
Yeah, there's none of that information there. Look, I would say you want to be looking at return on investment. So ask yourself, how much can you rent it out for versus how much can you buy it? And be happy with that. So be happy, whatever that number gives you back, are you happy with that as a return on investment? Like, it might be that you've got hundreds of thousands of pounds to invest in. You're happy buying a house cash for £300,000 and renting it out for £1,000 a month. You might be happy with that. I wouldn't be. I know you wouldn't be.
Do you know what though? It just makes you think when you see. Obviously, we're talking how much they've gone up, and we're sort of like, oh man, what 20 years ago? Like in 20 years' time, we're going to be looking back and going, 270 grand.
I know.
Flipping heck. It's like they were giving them away. Do you know what I mean?
I know.
So
giving them away like a smart.
It does make you want to just buy as much as you can now, because then down the line they will. You know, you're going to make shitloads of money. Capital appreciation.
Well, what I would do, Michelle, whatever money you've got available, right? Let's say you've got 200 grand, okay? I would try and get as many properties with that 200 grand as you can, because you're going to have, let's say you get 50 grand each, 4 houses, 50 grand each, leveraged by using mortgages. That means you're going to have 4 properties going up in capital appreciation. You're going to have 4 properties giving you rent. And then if one person doesn't pay you, you've still got 3 other people paying you. Whereas if you get one house at 200 grand and use all your money, that's 1 capital appreciation, 1 rent, and then if you get one problem paying your rent, you've got no income. I would get as many properties as I can with the money you've got and try and keep them in the same sort of area. You want to keep them, you want to find your designated area, keep them there, invest safe, invest wisely, and then get wealthy.
There you go. You heard it here first. Guys, thanks so much for tuning in this week. We'll be back next Wednesday. Same time, same channel, same chat.
Everything. Yeah?
Well, not the same chat, different chat. If it was the same chat, we might as well just put the same video back out again.
Oh, we could.
Do you reckon they'd notice?
They probably would.
All right.
Anyway, next week, guys.